Alright, after installing Windows 11 and Kali Linux in our virtual machine, now let's get some hands-on on the commands that are used in Windows terminal as well as in the Linux terminal. We'll start with the Linux, so let's just get started. For example, this is our terminal. If you are not familiar with the terminal, you can just click on the start menu available at the left bottom here and search here for terminal. You can use any of these root terminal emulator. You can go with console. I'm still using the console here. Now this will open this particular black screen window here. On the black screen, you can write different commands to perform your different actions. For example, let's say I want to check in which particular folder I'm currently working with. For that, you can go with pwd, that stands for present working directory, and if you enter, this will list the folder in which you are currently available. So if I just open the folder in this file explorer, or the let's say dolphin in this Kali Linux, you can see I'm currently present in this same Kali folder, and all the same files will be present in the terminal here. So for that, let me just list all the files in the terminal. To list all the files, you can use the ls command. Ls stands for list files and directories, and you can see we have different folders. All these blue color names are the folder and this white one is the file. How am I gonna know that this particular file is a folder or it's a file? For that, you can use the command ls -l. -l stands for the list format, which will give you the results in a table format. We will understand this table structure in a later manner, but you can see this last entry demo.txt starts with this minus symbol. If the row starts with the minus symbol, it means it is a file, and if the row starts with the symbol D, it means that's a directory. Just to understand, just to make it easier, Linux will also highlight your names or the files and folder with different colors depending on the terminal that you are currently using. If you want, you can also change these color formats in the setting option, but I would not suggest you to do that if you are currently new to these terminals. But as you grow with those terminals, you can change their color formats easily. Now, other than that, if you want, you can list some hidden files and folders as well. For example, if I want to change my current directory, currently I'm working with this home folder, and inside the home we have a folder called Kali. If I want to go back inside the particular home folder, I can go with cd // Now why I'm going // if you just write the command ls -al, -a stands for all. It will also list the hidden files and hidden folders as well. Now, if you check here, we have few extra hidden files available here, which are the default files that are always available in the Linux system. Each file has their own function. For example, this bash rc file is used to store the configuration for your basic terminal, like what properties, what global variables are available here, what shortcuts you have defined. So these kind of different function and different arguments variables you can define in this bash rc or zshrc depending on the terminal. So these are the few common files available in your system. Now if you see here, we can check that the first entry is from the dot symbol. Dot represents the current directory of the folder, and this // represents the previous directory, or you can say your parent directory. So this // always represents your parent directory, and this single dot represents your current directory here, and anything after the dot means the particular file or particular folder is hidden. Now if I navigate backwards or forward, you can use the command cd, which again stands for change directory, and hit enter. If I go with cd // I'm inside this particular home folder. Now if I go with ls -al, here you can see we have a folder with the name Kali, and if I back traverse one more time, like cd // one more time, now you can see I'm inside this slash folder. This slash is usually called as the root directory. where all the system files, system folders are available. For example, we know that in Windows system we have local drive C. Like if we go to this PC, we have local drive C, where all our different files, folder, their executables, their DLLs, for all the pre-installed softwares, for all the user installed softwares, all these files are present, right? It means this local drive C is primarily managed by the system itself, right? In the same manner, this root directory, this is the topest directory, you can say the higher level directory for any Linux distribution, right? So this is the topmost directory in the hierarchy, and everything will always comes under this forward slash. So this is the root directory of the Linux distribution. Now we have seen that inside this particular home we have the user Kali. We have seen that it has a folder Kali. Now each of these folder has their functions, right? Few of them are links. As you can see, the third row starts with the symbol L here, and the L denotes that this is not the actual file, this is a shortcut. And in Linux we usually refer shortcuts as the links, right? So you can also identify the links with this first character in the row, or you can also identify the links with these arrow symbols. It means this particular bin folder is not available in the root itself. It is stored inside the USR and then bin folder. You can see the USR folder is just available in the root here, right? And inside this USR we have the bin folder. In the same manner, you can see we have the lib and we have the sbin, right? Now let's start with the first folder. We have the first folder as /bin. I'm starting their name with the bin. If you want, you can just go with the original name like /usr and /bin, right? If you want to change the directory, for example, if you write the command cd and /bin, right, it will send you to this particular /bin directory. And if you enter the command pw, it will show you that you are currently available in this bin directory. But when you write the command ls-al and hit enter, all these files, all these names, all these files, all these folders, they are not available inside the /bin folder, right? They are not available inside the bin. Instead, they are available in this USR bin folder. It means you can also navigate inward and outward of a symbolic or shortcut. Similar to the Windows, if you want to send any file, for example, let's say if I create a new text document here, for example, I'm naming it as hello, and if I create a shortcut of it like share, compress, show more options, and send to desktop, right? Now if I see on the desktop we have this shortcut available here, and you can see the type is shortcut listed. Now if I navigate to that particular desktop folder in the Windows, again we're going to use the same cd command for the navigation, cd, and just go with desktop. If you want to list the directories before navigation, you can list the directories with the dir command. If you are using Windows 11, inside Windows 11 and 10 we have two different terminals. First one is CMD, which is the legacy application for the Windows, which is available in all version of Windows operating systems. But in Windows 10 and Windows 11, the newer version of terminal is known as the PowerShell, right, which has the capability that you can also execute the Linux command inside the Windows. So if you want, you can use the command dir to list the files and directories, and if you want, you can also use the command ls to list the files and directories, right? So it's completely your call. You want to use CMD or you want to use the latest terminal or the PowerShell, whichever suits you, you can use it. Now we can see we have the folder available here. Now if I navigate to cd and desktop. So desktop is not available here. For that we have to move inside this OneDrive, because whenever you log in with your Microsoft account, your desktop folder is automatically transferred to this OneDrive folder. So first we have to move into OneDrive, and inside OneDrive we have this desktop folder, and if you just go with the command ls, you can see we have this hello.txt, a shortcut link, right? In the Windows operating system, it will automatically list the file type here. If it's a shortcut link, it will always highlight it here. But in the Linux, you will get these arrow symbols, or you will get this L at the beginning of the file. Clear? Now, after that, we have this boot folder. Now, one more thing. Inside this bin folder, we have multiple files. We have seen that there are multiple files available in this bin directory, right? All these files and folders are the executable binaries for the Linux distribution. If you want to know what type of file currently I am dealing with, for example, let's say inside the bin we have multiple files. So let's say I'm just working with this particular zip. This is a file available inside this /bin folder. If I want to know what type of file this is, for that I can use the file command, right? If you are not aware with the arguments, with the options available for a command, you can go with their manual page. With the man command, use the man for the manuals. Go with man and write the command name. Hit enter. It will give you the documentation written by the developer for the command, for the executable. You can use all of their different options. You can read all of them and then start working with these commands and tools. Now, after reading all the documentation, we can see that file is used to check what particular file type I'm currently working with. So let's identify, like I am working with /bin folder, and inside the bin we have the file called zip, right? I want to know what type of file this is. So let's hit enter, and here we can see this is a ELF 64-bit executable for the ARM 64-bit architecture, and it's completely compatible with the Linux GNU distribution, right? So you can also identify the type of file you are working with. If it's a txt file, you can also identify, let's say I am writing the command file, and we have created a file inside the Kali user. So let's just identify what file type that was. So going into the home, going into the Kali, and inside the Kali you can use your tab to get a list of all the options available, all the file, all the auto completion. For auto completions you can use your tab. So I'm working with this demo.txt file, and if I hit enter, you can see this is an empty file. So let's just write something inside the file, and then we will see what type of file it is. So if you want to modify any file in the Linux, you have multiple options, again depending which one you prefer. The simplest one is the nano. Nano is not available in all the Linux distribution, it depends, but few of them, or you can say most of them, have the nano command. So you can use the nano and then specify the file name. File is available inside the home folder, inside the Kali, and inside the demo. Now one more thing, if you want to work with a file that's not available in your present directory, you can specify their location in this manner. If you are working with the GUI, you have to navigate through each folder and then open that particular file and start working with that. But in the Linux, you can simply specify their path and then you can start working with that file easily, right? So this is our file path. This is our empty file. We have not entered anything. Let me just write my name here and let's save the file. And here you can see we have multiple commands options available here, and to exit we have to use this cap with the X. So let's just exit the file, save modified buffer, Y for the yes, and enter the file name and enter. Now if you execute the same command, you can see instead of an empty file it says it's an ASCII text. It's an ASCII text. Now if you enter any Python code, any Java code, or any, let's say, any code from different languages, it will automatically identify what type of file you are working with. It's a Python executable, it's a Java executable, it's a Linux executable. What kind of file you are working with, you can easily identify with the file command. Now let's say we have a file with around like 10 or 20 or let's say 1,000 of lines, right? I want to read the content, I want to read the first few lines, I want to read the all the content, I want to read last few lines of that particular file. This usually happens, right? In that case, we have multiple options available. The first one is you can use the less command. Less is usually used to read the file but don't print the output on the terminal. Show it to me but don't print the output. If I check less and slash home slash Kali and slash demo.txt, you can see the file content is Siddharth Sangwan and it's present on the screen. But as soon as I press the Q button here, you can see the content is not printed on the terminal, on the console itself. So if you want to print the content, you can use the commands like cat, you can use the commands like head, you can use the commands like tail. These are three different commands available in the Linux to print the file content on your terminal, on your console. So let's start with the first one, which is the head command. Head will print the first few lines of the file on your terminal. So let me just open the file. So it will print initial lines on the terminal. It will not print all of the content, it will only print the file few lines. Let's say for example the file has 100 lines, right? And at a once in the single go you can only see 10, 20, or let's say 15, 20 lines, right? You can only read 20 lines in a go, right? And in that case, if you use the head command, it will only print those 100 lines, right? So in that manner you can only get the first few lines of the file. Other than that, we have the command cat. If you go with the command cat and then enter the file name as home, Kali and demo.txt, it will print all the content of the file on the terminal. If it has 1,000 of lines, it will print all those 1,000 lines on your terminal, which you have to scroll and read one by one, right? If you want to read the last few lines, for that you can use the command tail and the file name. It will pick the lines, pick the number of lines your screen can print, but from the bottom. It will not print all the content, but print number of lines that can be displayed on the screen at once, but from bottom, right? It will always print the lines from the bottom, not from the top, not from the middle, always from the bottom itself. Now let's say our file has 1,000 lines, we can only read 20 lines in a single go, and let's say we have a program file which has 1,000 lines and we want to read all of them one by one, right? And we cannot read all those 1,000 lines, we cannot understand all those 1,000 lines in a single go, right? So for that you can use the command more, similar to less, which does not print the content on the screen, only it will display you. Similar to this less, we have the more command, but more is slightly different to this less command. If I compare, for more you will get the content on your screen without any limitation. You will get the content on your screen, but the content that you have read, it could be 100 line, it could be 150, it could be 200, it could be 250. Any number of lines that you have read will be printed on your terminal, on your console. If it has 1000 lines and you have read 550 lines, then all those 550 lines will be printed on that console, and the rest 450 lines will not be printed on the console, right? So if you want, you can use this more command as well. So the format is again same, demo.txt, it print content read by user, right? So all the content that you have read will be listed here, right? Initially we have a small file here. Let's create a large file so we can better understand these few commands here. For that, I'll simply go to Wikipedia. Let's open anything. So I'll search for cyber security and let's go with the first link. Wikipedia still won't be sold. Let's just copy all the content and let's paste inside the file. So to modify the file, we're going to use the same nano command. Other than nano, if you want, you can use few other commands like vim is also a text editor, nano is also a text editor, kwrite is also a text editor, and gedit is also a text editor. Depending which one you prefer, you can use any one of them. They have their own feature, they have their different commands, and you have to go with those commands one by one, right? So in the previous for the previous file addition, we have used the nano command, and in this one we're gonna use the vim command. So let's just go and use vim. So it's /home kali, and inside kali we have this file demo.txt. Now inside the vim, if you want to modify this file, first you have to press the I, so you can move from read only permission to the write permission. So there are different modes available inside this vim or the vi text editor. The default one is read only. If you want to modify the content, you have to switch from read only mode to write mode, right? For that you can use the I inside your keyboard. So let's remove this content, or if you want, you can just press the escape key and press the DD twice to remove the whole line in a single go. After that, let's paste the content that we have just copied here. So right click, copy, and let's paste it here. Visuals are blocked, no worries, and let's get the readable content here. Let me just copy the content. I think this would be enough. Let's just copy and paste. Again, visuals are blocked. Let's just quit this and let's work with nano. Nano is a bit better than this one, but again, vim has their own features. Yes, I want to paste all these 9492 characters and continue. You can see we got all those file content here. Now let's save the file, save buffer, yes, in the same file. Now if I go with the same command, like we have the more and hit enter, we can see we have only read the 24% of the file, and if I scroll, if I hit enter, you can see the percentage continuously increase, and if I press the Q button here, the read format is completely gone and the content up to which I read is available on the screen here. Now after this more command, you can also go with this tail command, which will only print the last lines of the file. If you go with the head command, it will only print the initial lines of the file. And if you want to print all the content, you can go with the cat command. This one. This print all the content. In this manner, you can use any of these three different commands. The first one is head, second one is cat, third one is tail, fourth one is less, and the fifth one is more. So we have these three commands for the print and these two commands just for the read mode. If you want, you can use the mode for the read and print mode as well. Now, after these few basic commands like ls and the print, let's just move toward the extra some advanced commands here. So we have seen that ls, we can use the ls, we can use ls minus al. Now for example, let's say we have a directory in which we have around like 50 subdirectories and let's say 50 different files, right? Inside the directory we have created a new file and we want to check what are their permissions available, when it was modified, what is its size. We cannot go with ls minus al and scroll through all those 100 files and folders to check where the file is available, right? If you want to filter the results, for example, let's say when I write this command cat and print all the content of this file, right, I can go through all the content and identify a particular word that I'm looking for. For example, if I'm looking for the word malicious, right, I can go through with the content and find it easily. Like in the GUI, we use the command F to find any string. In the same manner, in Linux, you use this pipe here. Now, pipe is used to pass the output of the command on the left one. Output of the command on the left hand side will be used as the input of the command on the right hand side. And on the right hand side, I'm using the command grep. Grep is used to find the string values, or let's say find anything from the input. So let's just give it a check. Suppose I'm looking for the word malicious, and if I hit enter, you can see there are two presents available of this, there are three occurrence of this word malicious here in our text file. Now, other than that, let's say I want to read few extra lines where the malicious word is present. In that case, I can add few arguments from the grep command itself. I can use -a to read the lines after the word. For example, I want to read 5 lines after the word malicious. So I can go with -a and specify the number of lines I want to check after the word. And if I want to check the number of lines before that word, I can go with -b for the before. And if I hit enter, you can see we have the before part and we also have the after part, right? In this manner, you can read, you can check with different file contents, you can filter out your output with the grep command. Other than grep, you can also use few other commands as well, but before that, let me just complete this directory part first. So let me just explain what are different directories and what are their purpose in the Linux distribution. Now, this particular boot directory, it has all the boot files. For example, any wallpaper that you saw at the beginning of that, at the startup of the operating system, right? All the menu options that you saw at the startup of the operating system, any logo that you saw. So all these files, all the executables, all their OS ISO files, any kind of operating system drivers, files, executables, wallpapers, images, option menus, their timeout periods, all their configuration, all these things are stored inside this boot directory. After this boot, we have this etc. We are not discussing this dev because it is not available in all the distribution. We will only discuss the folder that are available in all the distributions here. So after boot, we have the etc here. etc has the configuration for all the tools, all the files, all the commands that are available in your system, for all the softwares in your system. For example, we're gonna use a tool called nmap, and the configuration, their option, their settings, all those configuration settings, option, their files are present inside this etc folder. If you talk about the users that you are currently working with, for example, I'm working with the user as Kali. The username, their password, their privileges, all these kind of configurations are also present in the etc. So our /etc folder is responsible for all the configuration. Any kind of configuration for your operating system, for your tools that you have installed, for your software that you have installed, all those configurations are usually placed inside this etc folder. After this etc, we have this home directory. This home directory is the folder where all the user folders, user files will be placed. If a user has downloaded any file from the browser, that particular file will be stored inside this home folder. Inside the home, user has their own folder. For example, we have the user Kali. So for the user, we have a separate folder available there, and inside that user, we have the folder downloads. So inside the download, we will get the downloaded file available. So for all the different users, we will get different folders where they can store their personal files and their folders. After this home, we have this lib, which contain all the libraries, all the predefined, or that's all the executable libraries for the system itself, for the software itself as well. Now next one is lost plus found. This lost or plus found folder is usually used when your system get crashed. If your system is crashed in any case, in any occasion, because of any particular reason, the current task, all the details about the current task will be stored inside the lost plus found folder. Instead of just cleaning up the system, it will be stored inside the lost plus found for the debugging purpose. After this lost found, we have this media and the MNT folder. This media and MNT folder both are used for the external storage device that you connect with. For example, if you connect a pen drive, if you connect the external SSD or external hard drive, all those folders, all those files, all their settings, all their files, media files, folders will be mounted inside this MNT folder, and all the media files will be listed inside this media folder here. Now after this MNT, we have this proc folder, which is responsible for containing information about the process. So this /proc store information about the processes. Now how you want to check the what different processes are running in your Linux distribution? Like we have the same GUI available here. For example, if you want to monitor, you can go with this monitor option available here, which will give you the few GUI option and give you application lists as well that are currently running here in the system. Also give you the application names here, few history, few processes available here. But if you don't want to use the GUI, what's the option available? For that, you can use the command ps. PS again stands for the process, which will give you a list of processes currently running for the specific user. Again, PS has their own arguments. If you want, you can go with a manual page of the PS as well. Report a snapshot of the current processes, and there are multiple arguments available here. You can go through these different arguments, and we're going to also use these different arguments in the upcoming sessions. Now, a common command for the PS is PS itself, which will give you the current running processes. Like ZSH is the process and PS is the command that we have just executed. ZSH is the terminal that we are using here, and it's also listing the command it just executed. If you want to list all the process from the system, from the software itself, then you can go with PS-A. It will give you all the processes, including the first process of the Linux distribution, that is init. Init is not listed here because of some reason, but the first process of any Linux distribution is the init, INIT. That's the first command, first process of any Linux distribution, and the process ID of that command is always 0. It's not listed because here I'm not sure why it's not listed, but usually we get the process ID 0 for the init here, and here you will get process ID for all of the executables we are running here. We will get a PS for Firefox. If you want to find out, you can just go with simple command ps-a, go with the command grep, and then search for Firefox. You can see the process ID for Firefox is 3167. Now let's say if you want to remove a particular file, you can use the rm command. If you want to kill a particular process, if you want to remove a particular process from the system, you can use the kill command. But for the kill, you usually require some extra admin level privileges inside the system. Otherwise, if the application, if the process is executed, is started by the low privileged user, you can also kill it. Let's give it a check. So if I want to kill the particular Firefox process, I just write the command kill and the process ID as 3167. It will instantly kill the running process. Simple. Other than that, if you want to analyze more about these processes, you can go with the manual page of the PS and go through their different options. After this PS, we have seen that if the permission, if the process is started by the privileged user. What I mean by the privileged user here is, in the Linux, when I started the command ID, this ID command gives you the few basic information like, okay, I am logged in with the user Kali, the user ID is 1000. In Linux distribution, the user permissions, user privileges are identified with their IDs, with their user ID. Higher the user ID, lower the privileges. Lower the user ID, higher the privileges. For example, if the user ID is 0, it means it's running as an administrator. It has all the admin level privileges. Just to show you, I'm going to the root user here. I'm just switching from the Kali user to the root user, and if I write the command ID here, you can see the user ID is 0 and the username is root. And we have also seen, we also know that the root user is the administrator user in the Linux distribution. To get out of this, just write the command exit. After that, now we can also see that we have few group IDs as well, and we have few group entries as well with the comma separation. Like we can see for the groups, we have the 1000, we are available at a number 4, the number 20 is also there, 24 is there, 25 is there, and the group sudo is also there. So sudo is one of the most common group in the Linux distribution. In Linux, permissions are assigned on groups. If you want, you can assign permission on users as well, but managing all those 100 or let's say 1000 of users for an organization is quite hectic for all the organization and including their Linux administrators as well. So what they simply does is they create different groups. For example, for a company, we have different branches. Let's say we have a sales team, we have a management team, we have an IT team, we have a developer team. So we have different teams inside the organization. For each of the teams, we have created a group. Suppose we have a group called IT. This IT group has admin privileges. It means they can install softwares, they can uninstall softwares, and they can do most of the actions on the system. On the other hand, we have a group called sales. This sales group, they don't have higher privileges. It means they cannot install a particular software, they cannot execute the executable files like exe, like lfi, like dep, dpkg. So these kind of commands, these kind of files are not executable by this particular group. And let's say inside this IT group we have 10 or 20 users, suppose, and inside the sales group we have 1000 users. If you want to change any permission for all those 1000 users, you can do it manually one by one. That's the first option. The second option is just change the permission for the group, and the same permission will be automatically imposed for all those 1000 users, which is quite convenient for all the IT members and for the management part as well. So instead of assigning permissions to a specific users, we usually assign permissions to a specific group here.